Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talking Brazil Ball with me, your host, James Brook, and I'm, as ever, joined by my brother George and my co-host George. The
Yes.
same.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
Yeah. All right, James. Thank you. I think it's been a couple of weeks, hasn't it, as we were discussing since we last. We're here talking Brazil ball. So hopefully, let's get to it again. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's been a couple of weeks since we did the last one. I was away, which was the reason for that. I wasn't
Yes.
away in Brazil, unfortunately, which would have been nice, but I was in kind of sunnier climes anyway, out in Gran Canaria. So it was nice, pleasant little trip. No football, unfortunately, which was a shame. But we're looking forward to getting back to speaking about the Brazilian ball today. What have you been up to?
Yeah, well, not a great deal, James, really, but sounds like you had a great time in Gran Canaria there. And just going at, plodding away day to day, that sort of thing. Ready to talk about some Brazilian football. I mean, I thought you'll be celebrating. I mean, I thought that would be the reason why we didn't quite get to one last week or a couple of weeks ago, because your team, of course, have a bit of silverware since to celebrate as well. So
They did,
yeah.
yeah. Liverpool won the Carabao Cup, which was a big win for us. Kind of unexpected in the circumstances with all the kids getting getting a bit of a run out, but no Brazilian kind of influence in that one as far as Liverpool were concerned. Alisson was still out injured, so no representation from that point of view, which was a shame. But yeah, anyway, it was a good win. And we enjoyed that one definitely. But today we'll get cracking on what we're kind of going on with today. So thank you to everybody who's been listening so far. As you'll know, if you've been following through the series, we're looking into before the Serie A season starts, the Clubs of Serie A in the 2024 campaign, and we're going through them by city and by area just to break them down and get familiar with the different teams who we're going to be looking at throughout the course of the season. So, you remember what we did last time, George?
It was the clubs of the Northeast, if I remember correctly, James. So there was three of them. Fortaleza was one of them, and the other one was Bahia, wasn't it? And I can't remember. Vitória, that was it. Was Vitória? Yeah, it was. Of course, it was. Yeah, so that was it, wasn't it? But this week, we're going to Belo Horizonte. So
yes, we are.
yes, so
We're traveling south. Last time was the clubs of the Northeast. This time we're traveling south. So Belo Horizonte, like you say, or Beautiful Horizon, as it translates as, it's the sixth largest city in Brazil. So we're looking at another big city, just north of Rio. So kind of southern in the country, but more more in the middle, but more south. Just north of Rio, and it's it's a hilly and a mountainous kind of landscape. And yeah, it's a big population. It's a little bit tropical down there, so again, not quite what we're used to up here. But another nice city. I don't know if you managed to have a little look about anything to do with Belo Horizonte or.
No, I haven't actually really, James. I've just sort of concentrated on the two sides we're looking at. I didn't really get much actually on the city itself. Or actually, I don't know. Did you get any information on it?
No, I mean, like you say, we're focusing more on the clubs themselves, aren't we? It's apparently known for architecture. It's got quite a number of notable architects and those kinds of people in the city, living in the city, and I guess working in the city. But it's not one of the very biggest areas in Brazil, but it's still a pretty kind of big place, and home to two really big clubs in Brazil, who, as George says, we're going to look at today. So do you just want to introduce them quickly, George, and then we'll have a little run through and see what they've won?
Yeah, of course. So we're looking at today, James, Cruzeiro, and of course, Atletico Mineiro. So yes, two teams, very interesting clubs really when you delve into it. So those two are the ones we're looking at today.
That's right. So, but two big sides. Cruzeiro historically potentially slightly bigger in terms of fan base. I think success as well. So, in terms of success, in terms of the trophies they've kind of collected, Cruzeiro lead the way on Serie A titles, league championships. So they've won 4. To Mineiro, Atletico MG, Galo, 3s. Sorry, they've won 3. Copa do Brasil, the Cup Cruzeiro actually have won more than anybody else. So they've won 6 Copa do Brasils, and that is the most of any team. So that's quite impressive. And then Atletico have won 2 Copa do Brasil. So again, it's a respectable tally in terms of the Copa do Brasils. They tend to be 1 or 2. Cruzeiro have amassed quite a few, but a decent tally from Atletico. And then the Copa Libertadores, obviously the biggest international, the continental competition. Cruzeiro have won 2. Atletico have won just 1. So again, Cruzeiro lead the way in that. And the regional championship, so it is in the region of, the state of Minas Gerais. Belo Horizonte is the capital of the state. So the state championship, and they've won 40. Sorry, Cruzeiro have won 38. Atletico have won 48. So,
wow.
In terms of the state championships, Atletico are the leading side. But yeah, Cruzeiro generally tend to have been historically a little bit more successful. So we'll look at Cruzeiro first. We'll have a little look at their history and stuff as we usually do. Get a bit of an overview into the club. So George, do you want to kick us off and let us know kind of what you found out while you were researching about Cruzeiro?
Yeah, so Cruzeiro, like you said, big team, interesting side to look at. And Cruzeiro Esporte Club, I think a lot of them have that sort of name, or just of course Cruzeiro, founded on the 2nd of January 1921. Again, like a few other of the teams we've looked at, it's got Italian heritage to the club. Founded in the Italian community living in Belo Horizonte. So basically, I think the Italian immigrants of Belo Horizonte wanted a team like Sao Paulo. So it was basically the people who founded Palestra Italia, which is now Palmeiras. So they wanted, the Italian people of Belo Horizonte wanted their own team, basically, in Minas Gerais, the state, isn't it? Minas Gerais. My Portuguese again. Yeah. So yeah, they basically wanted their own side, so they said, "Oh, we'll start up Cruzeiro." Again, it's a lot of interesting. I think it was quite a working class side to begin with, unlike Atletico, who I think it's more like that's a bit more of a wealthy sort of infrastructure. Really, a lot of more wealthier people went to that sort of team, whereas Cruzeiro is a bit more working. We've seen it about a few of them, haven't we, James, that we've looked at before. A lot of them, Club of the People and this sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think so. I've got quite a lot of information on here, really. Based on, if you look at the crux, isn't it? So the crux is the biggest symbol of Brazil, isn't it? That's why they've picked. That's the club crest, isn't it? The crux of Brazil. And it kept playing under the name. They initially had the name Palestra Mineiro, and they played under that name from 1921 until 1943. So, and then they actually changed the name to Cruzeiro. So it actually started up as a team called Palestra Mineiro.
Yeah, well, it was like you say, it was the same idea as Palmeiras. It was the Italian community, and it was the same reason that they had to change the name. So World War II came around and Italy was part of the Axis powers with Germany and Japan. So they were kind of, obviously the bad guys, really. And the Brazilian government decreed that there should be no Italian symbols or names. So anything that was named in an Italian way had to be changed to a Brazilian way. So that's the way Palmeiras, if you remember, got the name Palmeiras from Palestra, Italia. And it was exactly the same with Cruzeiro. They had to change it as well. And yeah, you mentioned the crux. It's a star sign. Oh, no, it's a star constellation.
That's it.
Yeah, so it doesn't. It's not really that clear. I mean, why they changed it exactly to that? I guess they wanted to pick, rather than a symbol of Italy, a symbol of Brazil, and I guess that's why they went with that, really. So that's, again, it's like you say, we've seen a lot of them kind of created by immigrants, kind of for immigrants. And obviously that changes over time, and more people come into the area, and the club opens up a lot more. But yeah, another Italian based one, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, a lot of them have, like, for the immigrants, basically set up by immigrants for immigrants. And like I said, they'd seen what Palmeiras was made of, and thought, oh, we want to do that over here in Belo Horizonte. So they set up Cruzeiro. Like I said, they went under another name for 20 odd years before it was changed to Cruzeiro. And obviously, like you said, they wanted to go in with a symbol of Brazil, which the crux is the biggest symbol, I think, of Brazil. It's a big sort of symbol, isn't it, representing that country. So yeah, interesting club. Current stadium, if we go with that, James, is the Mineiro. Full name.
Who?
The Mineiro. The full name is Stadio Governador Magalhães Pinto. So I don't know. It's a long name, but after the governor, it was named. Basically, it was named after the governor of the state of Minas Gerais, who he was in office in the 60s, basically. So that was where the name of the stadium came from. It's a big stadium. Capacity is 66,658. Opened on the 5th of September 1965, and then had a renovation in sort of late 2012. It was a venue for the 2013 FIFA Confederations Cup and also the 2014 FIFA World Cup. They had 6 games there, James, including, I know it was a famous game, you might remember that 0-0 draw that England had with Costa Rica that was in that stadium, and also one that you might be more familiar with, that 7-1 game between Germany and Brazil. Sorry to anybody listening. Yeah, sorry to anybody. Yeah, sorry to anybody listening in Brazil. I have, sorry to bring that one up again, but yeah, that one was the venue for Germany's 7-1 win over Brazil in the semi-final, wasn't it, of the World Cup? I think it was in 2014. Also, it was a venue for the 2016 Summer Olympics as well. Yeah, so it's a massive stadium.
Yeah,
and
it sounds
very
like
well used.
a well-supported club as well. And yeah, they last won the league, I think, 2014. So they're a club who seem to have, most of their honours seem to have come in the past. But they did have a bit of a renaissance recently, and they've won a few things over the last 10 years. So I think they were 14th or something last year. They seem to be a club who do hang around the lower reaches of the table at the moment, but they are prone to a bit of a run. So I don't know if you've got usually facts on the manager. Have you got the kind of what we can expect, or who's in charge at the moment?
Yeah, I do actually, James. But yeah, I think just before I get on to that, I think they did. I think they've been in real trouble actually,
Mm.
Cruzeiro over recent years and really struggle. I can't remember, but I think I'll just have a quick look. I think they did. I think they did get relegated not too long ago.
Yeah, well,
Um,
they went bankrupt. So they went. I mean, they were like a lot of the Brazilian clubs, a lot of clubs around Europe. Not in England. They were a non for profit organization ran by the fans, basically the socios, for about 100 years until I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and then they went bankrupt. So they needed help, and I think they probably did go down, but I'm not 100% sure. But they were saved. And yeah, I know we're probably going to talk a little bit about who saved them because it was obviously a lot of people listening might not be aware. Actually, I mean, everybody is aware of this guy, but people may not have known that he actually did bail out the club. So, George, do you want to introduce the? I mean, you say he sold it now, but the guy who did own or take over Cruzeiro in I think it was 2021. He's a man who needs no introduction, but why don't you give him one anyway?
well, it is like you said, James. There is absolutely no introduction for him, but it is that man Ronaldo, who's probably the most famous Brazilian football player you could have. I mean, people are going to argue with that, but for me, is the most iconic Brazilian of our era, definitely.
Yeah, I was
That
going to
that
say of our era for
you
sure. I think you'd have a few people angry about that one. Pele
Oh yeah, but
fans.
yeah, of course. I mean, what I will caveat that by saying, yeah, it is of our era.
Good
Ronaldo, I
save.
think, is yeah, exactly, is the most iconic Brazilian football player you could have of this sort of our era, not of any era. Because, like you said, you've got Pele, you've got other absolutely fabulous players, but Ronaldo, and you say that you don't know whether they did go down. They did go down, James. They went
Mm,
down in 2019. They stayed
mm,
there for 3 years in Serie B before winning it in 2022. So last season was actually the first year back in the top flight
right.
for 4 seasons, basically. So Ronaldo did save them from sort of he wanted to bring his club back to where that he felt it needed to be. Obviously, it's a big club, but yeah, Ronaldo I think had been there for I think he did. I think he came in 2019 or 2020. I can't, or maybe it actually was 2021. I can't remember. I think he's been there. I
It was
think he was there for
2021.
2021. So he was there for 2 years, for exactly 2 years, because I think they must have a sort of an election after 2 years, or is it every year? I don't know. But he has been now, like you said, he's no longer the
Mm,
man in charge since only December of last year. So the new man's only been in a few months, and that man is Lidson Poch, who has been there since December 2023. He, I think he battered him really in the election. I think really the total votes,
mm,
234 for Poch, to 178 for Ronaldo. So
mm.
yeah, he beat him by quite a way. But this man had been on the board anyway for about for I think for about 30 years or something. So
Wow.
he's been a board member for a long time. So basically, he's just upped his stake into the top man basically. But Ronaldo, I think Ronaldo, you probably ask any Cruzeiro fans, but did probably, yeah, he's done a good job. He got them back into the top division. So and now 14th, it's at a lower mid table, isn't it? It's probably relatively safe, and and hopefully next season they can go on and do better under the guidance of Poch. I mean, you asked me who the manager is, the current manager, James. Again, they went through managers like it was like I don't know if you remember. Well, I certainly do, obviously, but it's like Massimo
Hmm. I know
Cellino
what
with
you're going
his
to
sacking
Yeah.
of the managers, But the current manager, they went through 4 managers last season, 4 permanent managers
Jesus.
they went through. So it's yeah, it's not good. But the man in charge at the moment is Nicholas Laracon. Nicholas Larcamon. He's quite a young for a manager, 39-year-old Argentinian manager. So, we'll wait to see. I think I'll just check again, but I'm not sure where he came from. Well, he's only been there, so he came in when Poch took over the presidency, basically. So he's his man, Nicholas Racamon. He's managed in Mexico, a lot of Mexican teams. Had a little dabble in Chile as well. So it's all kind of like, it's all a lot of time in Chile actually, and Venezuela as well. So got a lot of experience for how young he is. I think he actually started managing in he'd be in his late 20s, I think, or early 30s. So at Deportivo and Zotiju, which is a Venezuelan side. So young manager, a bit of experience. So let's see how he gets on.
Yeah, let's see. Indeed. I mean, I'm not sure what would have happened there with Ronaldo, but you'd imagine something would have happened for him to get such a low kind of percentage of the votes, because he is again, we don't know the kind of the ins and outs of a lot of these things, and we don't know. I don't know any Cruzeiro fans. If anybody has any information, then let us know. But you'd imagine that he would be a bit of an icon for Cruzeiro. So it does seem as though something maybe might have happened, and the team haven't been doing so badly, as you say. But yeah, Ronaldo is probably the most famous player to come through at Cruzeiro. I mean, we were having a bit of a debate, weren't we, as to whether we could include him as a youth product from Cruzeiro, just because he did move there from São Cristóvão as a 16-year-old. So he did move across from Rio, move north when he was a youngster, but he did come through the academy still, and he quickly kind of shot to fame. But I know we like to look at the academy kind of prospects, George. Have you got anyone that you'd like to mention, or is there anything else you want to touch on about Cruzeiro before we do look at the kind of the youth team players?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I like to look at, like you said, James, I like to look at fairly recent players that have come through the academies at these teams. There's actually only one that I could find because I like to look at the ones that have come into Europe. The only one man, and he's playing at the moment, and we've spoke about him in the past as well, playing for Barcelona. Victor Roque, who's 19-year-old, he played 16 times for Cruzeiro before he moved on. I think he moved on straight to Barcelona. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Sorry, he played for. He played for Paranaense, didn't he? Before he moved on to. So he's a young player. He's played a lot of first team football. To be fair, already scored a couple of goals for Barca this season as well. So young prospect, looking. Definitely want to keep an eye on for Barcelona fans and Brazilian fans as well. I think he's actually been. I think he was in the Brazilian squad for.
He's been capped already.
Yeah, I was sure he had. Been in the Brazilian team for. I don't know whether he got a cap, did he, or whether he was just in the team. I think he was just in the squad.
I think he got a cap, didn't he?
Oh, did he? Oh, yes, he did. Yeah, sorry, he did. Yeah, but. I don't know who that was against actually, but he's been capped one time. So maybe his fellow countryman Rafinha can help him out, and has been helping him out in Barcelona to settle in. But definitely want to watch. Did you get anybody, James, of the youth graduate kind of scheme from Cruzeiro?
Yeah, I mean, I know you. Yeah, so you look at the more recent. I think they seem to have quite. We've looked at most of the teams now in Serie A, and to be quite honest, they've had quite a few players who have gone on to play at a really quite a good level, who have actually come through the academy and gone on to Europe. So I do have a little list actually, and I'm sure that you'll recognise probably most of them. So Giuliano Belletti, is that a name that rings a bell? Yep. Champions League final scorer for Barcelona 2007, World Cup winner in 2002. pretty notable name.
Yep.
Aurelio Gomez as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The old Watford and Tottenham keeper, again, played for the national team as well. He was a bit of a character, Aurelio Gomez. So
Yeah,
he came through
definitely.
at Cruzeiro as well. Another one, Luis Sau, who you might know. I mean, I remember Luis Sau because of his time at Benfica 2006, it must have been. I think Luis Sau either scored at Anfield or he scored in the away leg in Lisbon against Liverpool in the Champions League last 16. They knocked us out. Benfica knocked us out. Simão scored and Luis Sau scored the big header, big tall centre back. He got over 70 caps for Brazil. So again, another player who was significant at a national level came through at Cruzeiro. Spent a lot of time at Benfica. Then a couple of fullbacks who you'll probably remember from the kind of 2000s, who played in the same team actually on opposite sides. So the left back was Maxwell, who was a really
Yep.
successful player with Inter, PSG, Ajax, Barcelona briefly as well. So I think up until not that long ago, he was the player who had won the most trophies in football history. I don't think he is anymore, but I think he was up there. So Maxwell was a left back. The right back was Maicon, who
Icon, yeah.
was at Inter as well for a long time, went to City briefly as well. Again, an international player and quite a recognisable one as well. So there's quite a few there who have done pretty well. Another one, Giovanni, who you probably remember from Hull City.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Well, he played for Man City as well, didn't he? Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, he was at Man City first. He went to Hull, was a scorer of kind of great goals, but he actually went from Cruzeiro straight to Barcelona in 2001. So I think he had a bit more promise initially than he eventually probably realised. But yeah, Giovanni was another one, and another one is another current player actually. So you missed this one, George. Vitinho, who plays for Burnley
Oh,
fullback.
really? Yeah. Right.
He's, I think,
Yeah.
21 or 22, and he joined Burnley straight into the Championship last year, and is starting for them, I think, regularly in the Premier League this year. So he's a good young player, I think, to keep an eye on potentially with a move to a bigger club in the future. Vitinho. And then the last one I mentioned is Kurlon, who you might remember, who hasn't had a particularly great career, I don't think, but was memorable or for a time for being a chap. He made famous a dribble called the seal dribble, and I think a lot of people probably remember it. Dribble de Foquinha. It was he used to run with the ball.
Excuse me.
On his head.
Yes. Oh, yes. I remember that. I thought you were being. I thought you were putting in a swear word there.
A dribble, yeah, dribble de Foquinha.
Yeah, of
Apparently, yeah, that
course.
must be a seal. So they don't like the
Yeah.
seals there, Foquinha.
Oh
But yeah,
gosh.
he used to run about, dribble it on his head, and then he'd inevitably get kind of clattered by somebody, and probably fairly enough.
Yeah.
But
Well.
Curlon
Yeah.
at Cruzeiro as
Right.
well. So there you go. Quite a rich kind of history of a few players have come through there. So we might want to keep an eye on the academy and the young players who are coming through, because they have had quite a good collection of them.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, there are some names that I do recognise there. Like you said as well, some fairly recent names. I obviously remember Giovanni from Man City, and that was like when Man City started to get a bit of money, and that's where they had the likes of Elano and Giovanni, and then later on a bit later Robinho and Stephen Ireland, in that team as well. So yeah, I remember that. I mean, you touched on Vitinho. Playing at Burnley, he actually went from Cruzeiro to Cercle Bruges in Belgium.
Oh yeah, he did.
Played a couple of seasons there, 3 seasons I think there before moving on to Burnley, like you said, into the Championship. 24-year-old Brazilian fullback. So yeah, he's a decent player really, and I think that was quite a decent signing for Burnley, definitely in the Championship anyway. But yeah. some interesting and good, decent quality academy there I think they've got. So like you said, definitely one to keep a close eye on perhaps.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's all for Cruzeiro then. So we've got a good overview of the kind of the club there. So there is only one other club. I know we've been doing kind of 3 really. There is two more clubs in Belo Horizonte, but we're focusing on the Serie A clubs, initially. So, do you want to introduce the second club, George? And so for people, for the listeners, we would call them Atletico, Atletico Mineiro, but they do tend to go by another name in Brazil. So, George, would you like to enlighten the listeners and let them know exactly what that is?
Yeah, absolutely, James. So it's Atletico Mineiro, like you said, but they do like to go by the name Galo. Galo means rooster in Portuguese, which was introduced, I think, in the 1930s. It's been a long-standing mascot of the club, has the rooster. So yeah, it's become a common nickname for the club because of that, basically. And yeah, the team play in black and white stripes is Atletico Mineiro or Galo we're looking at now. But yeah, I like this team. Like I said to you, James, I think I know I picked I've picked my team Flamengo, but I think I am actually going to swap my allegiances before the season starts. Controversial, but I do like this team. I do like the club and the rooster as well. It just, I don't know.
Well, you're the bearded peacock, aren't you? You're the
Exactly.
bearded peacock, so you've got to be
So then
the
the peacock, the rooster. So yeah, I think I'm going to pick Mineiro as my team. And yeah, I like it. I like it. So yeah, but this is the team. What we're looking at. If we look at the origins of this team, which is it's the biggest and oldest active football club in Minas Gerais. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It was founded on March the 25th, 1908. So it's its anniversary in a couple of weeks of the club.
Oh, well, you'll be celebrating, George, as a fan.
I might do. Yeah, I might. I don't know. Go and see if I can find a rooster or something. I don't know. And
sounds a bit ominous, doesn't it? What are you going to do?
Well, there you go. Who knows, eh? But I don't know. But yeah, it's their celebration in a few weeks. That's what.
When is that? 28th?
120, yeah, 25th of March. So it'll be 117, I think. Is it 1908?
116.
116. So it was founded by 22 students from Belo Horizonte. It had upper class beginnings, upper class founders, but the club immediately opened its doors to everybody, basically. So again, it's another like Cruzeiro, a club of the people, basically, the people's club, and it quickly became one of the most supported teams in Brazil. So it's a good sized club, this. And I was gonna probably in the next one now have a look. So because all of them seem to be one of the best, well supported clubs in Brazil. I
Yeah,
was going
there
to
is.
try and look at what the Instagram, the social media following for these teams, and then try and base it on, who's got, because that's what people do, isn't it, nowadays? Look at social media and he's got so many followers. So
It's a good
that
way
was
to gauge it. It's a good way to
yes,
gauge.
because that's what I was going to do. Because everyone seems to be the most supported club in Brazil, although I do think it is a very well supported club. But yeah, like I said, about the mascot being there for some time, Galo is the nickname and has been for some time. And if we look at the stadium, then it's a new stadium, James. It's a brand new stadium. Well, coming up to a year old. The Arena MRV, which was opened in April of last year, 2023. It's a lot smaller, to be fair, than Cruzeiro's stadium. Capacity of 47,465. So it's a lot smaller, really, but it's brand new. It's literally a year old. So that was the first season playing at their new stadium, Galo, last season, and they did pretty well as well. They came third, I think, eventually. So yeah, it's a well supported club.
Well, I think
And
I think they did actually share the stadium. I think with
all right,
Cruzeiro. I think the
Right,
Mineiro. I think it was a shared stadium. So it
right,
seems that obviously I don't know if they own it or the count. I think I read that they do own it themselves, which is quite rare, but I might be
right,
wrong. But yeah, they've moved there, and often these stadiums that the clubs own that don't tend to be like Juventus, for example. So in Italy, the clubs don't tend to own their stadiums. It tends to be owned by the council, the government.
right.
But Juventus own their stadium, and Juventus's stadium is a lot smaller than you'd probably. It's about 40,000 as well.
Mm,
But I think it's because of the costs and because of they don't want empty seats and this kind of stuff. So they
mm.
build it slightly smaller than perhaps they might be able to fill it just to make sure it's always full. Basically, I think it might be a
Right,
similar scenario, but I'm not 100% on that.
right. Oh, right. Okay. So yeah, there you go. I didn't know anything about that. To be fair, I mean, might be a good time to mention the derby as well, James, between Atletico MG and Cruzeiro, which I think is you probably got it there, what it's called, but I can't remember
Just a
what it's
classic. It's
called.
just a Classico Mineiro. It's just the
Classico
Mineiro
Mineiro. Yeah.
Classico. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's obviously the derby there. They're fierce as rivals, obviously, and at the moment, obviously, like we've covered, I think MG Garlo are a lot more successful than Cruzeiro. So of recent times, but obviously the current manager, we've touched on him a few times in a couple of previous pods, is Luis Felipe Scolari. Again, a man who doesn't really need any introduction. A lot of people of a certain era will know who this man is. Long-standing manager of various different teams in Brazil. Obviously, dabbled into the Premier League for a little bit with Chelsea as well, and Brazilian national team, and a few times. And yeah, so he's doing a good job. He's pretty old now, is Scolari, but he's doing a decent job. I can't remember how long he's been there actually, but I think he's been there a few years now.
Hmm.
Just having a look.
I don't know. They won the league, didn't they? They won the league in 2021, I think, or 22. Might have been 22.
Yes, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know if
yeah.
Scolari was there then, but that was the first time they'd won it in a heck of a long time. They've only ever won two. Um, have they won two or have they won three? No, they've won three. Sorry, but it was a long time since the last one. I think. I don't know. I don't think Scolari was there actually. I think he
No,
might have
so
been at Cruzeiro at the time. He was at Cruzeiro for a couple of years or a couple
yeah,
of spells.
so he was there since last season was his first season, to be fair,
Mm,
and he was at Cruzeiro. Yeah, he's been there twice. Once in October 2020, and then the other one was in July a long time ago. It was like 2000. So yeah,
gosh.
so he's been about a lot, like I said, Scolari. But yeah, I think they had a little bit of a markup last season to what they did in 2022. Finished seventh in 2022. Then they finished third in last season. So
So they won
yeah,
in 2021. Then they must have won in 2021. I think.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, so they had a little bit of a drop off, from winning it.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, again, if you look at the current team, um, it, like Hulk seems to just keep going, doesn't he? And he he scored a heck of a lot of goals last season. But they've got, I think, Pedriano, Pedrino, who was on loan who came from Benfica as well, and he's doing okay. There's a lad there, Polino, as well, who was on loan, wasn't it, Bayer Leverkusen? Sorry, from Bayer Leverkusen last season, and he scored a hell of a lot of goals as well.
yeah.
I think he's since made his move permanent, actually.
He
So
has, I think. Yeah, he has, I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
but it didn't really hit it off in Germany, but seems to be hitting the net a lot last season. And yeah, it's a really interesting looking squad they've got, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they get on.
Yeah, you'd have thought they'd be up there with Scolari. I mean, like you say,
Yeah,
iconic kind of manager, won the World Cup, won. I don't know how many titles he's won in Brazil, but I'm sure he's won a number. So they do go through managers, so you have to be careful when, here in England, if you look at predictions for a league season, you might think base it on the manager, but I think in Brazil that can be a bit dangerous because you don't really know how long they're going to be there. A couple of bad results and he might be getting the sack, to be fair, Scolari. But yeah, they've got a team there that looks like they could do something. They've also got apparently one of the very best training facilities in Brazil.
Yes.
Perhaps even the best one. And perhaps it's apparently regarded as one of the best in the world. Ciudade do Galo. So City, or Rooster City, basically. I think it sounds better probably in Portuguese than than in English, Rooster City. But apparently, yeah, that might be helping them with the results and everything in recent years. So they seem to be a well set up club, a well kind of structured club. With quite a lot going for it. So I think Cruzeiro are more successful. Cruzeiro are a bigger side. It seems more well supported as well. But Gallo are seemingly the team in kind of the ascendancy. So, we'll keep an eye on anything on what they're going to be doing. Have you managed to? Oh, well, actually, so we talk about the rivalry there. You talk about the rivalry with Cruzeiro, the Mineiro Classico. They do, obviously. There is another team in Belo Horizonte. So this is America MG, or just America. They usually just called America, which can be confusing because there's quite a number of Americas. And yeah, as I mentioned, we would have been talking about them, but they got relegated last year, so they were last, I think, dead bottom of Serie A. So they're in Serie B this year, but they're another biggish club, and they obviously have a big rivalry with Gallo as well. But Gallo actually, I don't know if you saw this, George, but this might be interesting for you given your allegiances. But they do apparently have a very big rivalry with Flamengo. So I know you've jumped ship from Flamengo to Atletico to Gallo. So you might not be welcome anymore, I don't think, around certain areas of because apparently it's the biggest derby. Well, you're laughing, but I don't think you want to go to the wrong area of Rio anymore. They're the biggest
Well, I was free. I'm disappointed because I was frequenting it quite often.
Well, that's it. Yeah, in your dreams, I think. So that's apparently, we always see that they have these intense rivalries. We've spoken about them, we know them, but apparently this is they're usually localized, and this is the biggest one between. Think of it's akin maybe to you as a Leeds fan going to support maybe Chelsea or something like that, perhaps.
Yeah. So it's
It's a rivalry born from just, I think, being fighting for titles, apparently in the 80s mainly, and they came up against each other in some heated games, and there was some controversy, and apparently it's led to a bit of a rivalry. So you better watch out.
Yeah, better keep low then if I'm going around those ends, and just don't take out my Gallo shirt, you know what I mean?
No, keep your nut down.
Don't mention it. Don't mention it. Yeah, that's it. But no, I didn't actually know that. But yeah, you noticed that you mentioned that the training ground, obviously, Ciudad do Galo is one of the best in the world, basically, and it hosted Argentina. Argentina used it as their base in the 2014 World Cup, so must have been decent for them to go and use it as well. So yeah, but a bit of trivia as well, actually, James, that I've collected on Atletico Mineiro on Galo. So yeah, it's been used I think in a couple of sort of media, big media stuff. The club itself, it was a pop band or a rock band, I think, from Belo Horizonte. They filmed a music video for their song "E uma partida de futebol." It's a football match. They filmed this video for their song in a 1997 Clásico Mineiro match between the two sides, Galo and Cruzeiro. The video actually won 3 categories. It won 3 awards at the 1997 MTV Music Award for Brazilian Music Award, basically. So if you after the pod's finished, go and listen to "It's a Football Match" by the Brazilian rock band Skank.
Skank.
They're called Skank. They've actually dissolved now recently, but it's long number of years they made music. But yeah, there's a little bit of something from there. They're from Belo Horizonte. Also, it was also depicted in a comic, in a DC comic, in 2017. The protagonist, in Memories of the Desert, he remembered a 2014 Brazilian. It's a 2014 Brazilian crime drama. One of the supporters, he supported Galo basically in this crime drama as well, but it was also depicted in a DC comic as well.
Very good.
So it was depicted in a comic book, and then also he must have been quite a thing in this Brazilian crime drama film, Memories of the Desert. So again, one to go and have a look at it if you want to. The man in there, Daniel de Oliveira, is the actor, and the man is a Galo fan as well. So a little bit of trivia and
good. I mean, if we had a popular culture,
that was the word I was looking for earlier. Yeah.
Well, if we had a producer or somebody who knew what they were doing with this, we would have inserted that song by Skank. It's a Football Match. So if the listeners can just make up their own version in their heads, and that's
exactly
that's what it is.
Go and look at the video, because it'll be 1997. I don't know what the score was between Cruzeiro and Galo in that particular game, but this is what they decided to go with. And again, I don't know who the team Skank and the members support, but it'd be interesting to see who they supported on that.
Yeah, we'll get them on. We'll get them on one of these days. Get Skank on.
Good luck with that. Yeah, but
we get a few new listeners.
Yeah. Well, you never know. It's a crossover, isn't it? Bit like yours. Yeah, but like your old one, perhaps.
What do you mean?
Well, a crossover between music and football,
Oh, I see. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, well, we'll look forward to getting them on the pod then and grilling them about various matters. So let's look into again then the youth team, as we like to, just to familiarize people, and it helps connect a few dots in terms of players that we might know who will have played, come through the team. So again, have you managed to find anybody? It seemed a little bit more difficult with Gallo, actually.
I haven't actually found anyone, James. I haven't found anyone. I couldn't find any. Literally couldn't find any. I know you're a little bit better than finding them than I am, but yeah, I just couldn't find any at all.
Well, that's a bit of a shame, actually, because there are a couple of current players. I mean, I haven't been able to dig up many, but there must be a better resource for this kind of a thing.
Yeah,
there has to be one out there somewhere. But I have
anybody
found
let me know, because I'd like to. Yeah, who did you find?
Well, so I've got 2 current players, so I'll deal with the first one, who is no longer playing, but does have a connection, a tenuous one, to the pod. So that's a chap called Dede, who played for Borussia Dortmund for 13 years. Won a title under Jurgen Klopp. So that's the connection with the pod. Me being a Liverpool fan, of course. So yeah, he played for Jurgen for I don't remember when Klopp went to Dortmund. I think it was 2008. So a few years he spent under him. Strange one, yeah. Never capped for Brazil. I think he was a fullback. I do remember him actually, but he played over 300 games for Dortmund. He was a kind of a stalwart there, but I think he was one
Right.
of these who was not especially a first team player for a lot of the time. I think he was in and out a little bit, but yeah, he was there a long time. So a notable kind of guy came through at Atletico, and then the two current players who one of them we may be seeing in the Premier League very soon, which is a young man called Savio, who is 19-year-old who has just either been signed or is going to be signed by Man City. I'm not sure if he's
Right.
actually joined there, but it's a bit of a dodgy one. He was signed by the French club, I think, Troyes, who are
Yeah.
part of the City group.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
played
Yeah.
for Troyes, and then he moved on to Girona. So he's playing for Girona at the moment, who are, of course, having a pretty amazing season. And now, I don't think he's signed yet, but it's going to happen. He's going to join City. I don't know if he's going to go on loan from there, but a really promising young player. Played for Gallo, came through at 16. Played again. You know, we see it so many times where these young players play a big number of games at such a young age, and he was the same. He was in the first team at 16 and playing. And then I don't know. I think he went straight to Troyes. I'm not sure, but yeah, either way, he's going to end up at City. So he's one to really keep an eye on. He could be another future star. We don't know. It's difficult with City with these players because they scoop them up and then they do tend to. Someone like Douglas Luiz, for example, joined City, never played for them, went to Girona. Now he's at Villa doing really well. So Savio could be one of those, or he could be one who takes off at City and becomes a top player for them. So he was one. One very much in the current kind of process, and another one who is a very current player as well was Gleason Bremer, Juventus centre
Oh,
back.
yes.
He also came through at Gallo and played for them for a couple of years, I think, or at least made a relatively decent amount of appearances. Then he joined Torino in Italy, of course, and then 2 years ago he moved to Juve. So another one who's actually a really good defender. I know Liverpool were linked with him a fair bit.
Yeah.
3 caps for Brazil, so he's been in the team, but he's not particularly. He's not in the starting 11, but he has been in and around the squad. So perhaps to be joined by Savio at some point soon. So they've got a couple of notable ones in there. I'm sure there might be one or two others, but again, it's difficult to find. But at least it gives us an idea, a couple of players to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just I didn't know actually that I'd seen that news actually about Savio going to Man City. That's next season, did you say?
I think he's joining in the summer, but I don't know whether it's
Yeah,
been.
so
I
it's
don't know whether it's done, but it doesn't matter. City owns Girona; it's a
no.
done deal. Whether it's been completed or not, it's going to happen. He might be sent back out on loan. I don't think they've quite decided yet, but either way, he's one to keep an eye on because he looks like he could be. He's only 19, and he's already obviously City have been impressed enough to kind of to trigger or whatever they do, to bring him back to the mothership basically. So.
Yeah.
One to really want to be aware of.
Well, yeah, I mean, 7 goals, 7 goals, 7 assists. It's not too bad in La Liga this season. You say
Yeah,
he was at Troyes as well, or
I
Troyes?
think he, I think he was, yeah, but I don't think he ever
Mm,
played. I
mm.
think he was a record signing, as far as I can
Right.
remember, from Troyes, and then he never played, and he went straight. I think he went straight to Girona. It's a bit of one of those where it's interclub dealings
Well,
within the city.
because it says here he played at PSV as well, so just
Hmm.
just a, just a few appearances for PSV. So, tr-
Right, so maybe I've got that wrong then. Did he
yeah,
go to
but
Troyes?
no, well, it don't say it did on it, but like you said, he might not have made an appearance, so it might not have registered it. But they're owned by City as well, aren't they?
Yeah, he is. He's on
Yeah.
loan from Troyes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he
right.
is. He went. Atletico sold him. Gallo sold him to Troyes
Yeah.
for 5 million or so. I think it was a record signing, but
Right.
he's
Yeah.
never played for them. He immediately went on loan, yeah, to PSV in
Yeah.
20. Yeah,
Right.
he joined them in 2022. Immediately went on loan to PSV. Then he went on loan to Girona, and now he's coming back to them.
Gosh.
So yeah, bit of a
Right.
murky one, but a good deal for
Mm.
Gallo for a youth product. So again, with all the Brazilian teams, it's always worth keeping an eye, and it's often the players who, I mean, Savio was, but it's often the players who haven't even broken through or made an appearance yet, and they'll get scooped up. So, they don't tend to get to enjoy them for very long if they do have a talent like that. So you're not necessarily aware of them even, because they won't even feature for the first team. But yeah, he did.
Yeah, well, that's it. You just don't know. I think, like you said, they come through so young in Brazil. Like he's already played a good amount of first team football for his age. So
Yeah,
and yet so it's yeah. I think that's what happens quite often, where they start early, come through before they're sort of 20. They're being moved off to Europe, and
yeah,
doing well there. So it'd be interesting to see if he gets into. I don't imagine he'll get into City's team, like you said. They'll probably decide on what to do with him next, but whether they sell him back on loan to Girona, or back to Troyes, or to one of their other teams, who knows? But another team again with a Leeds connection is Troyes. Kisnorbo was the manager last season. I don't think he's the
was
manager
he?
now. Patrick Kisnorbo. I think he got relegated actually with them. They were right at the bottom. I don't know if they're. I don't think they're in. I don't think they're there now. In
No, they're not in
League, the league in League Two, aren't they? They're
League
right at the
Day.
bottom. They're right at the bottom of there as well.
Gosh,
Towards the bottom end of that, 16th. So
oh dear.
yeah,
Well, that's
he was.
we've gone off road there.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Again,
that's
that's.
neither here nor there.
I think we've talked about it before. Talking French ball. I think that's for
Yeah,
that podcast. Yeah.
yeah, that'll be on the other channel, won't it? Oui.
Well,
So I think unless you've got anything else to add about Gallo, George, have you anything else to add about either
um,
Gallo, Cruzeiro, Athletic America, Belo Horizonte in general? Any closing thoughts?
not really, James. I think, like I said, I'll be interested to see how they all get on. And obviously Gallo, looking like the one at the moment that has the ascendancy. But it's been interesting to see whether Cruzeiro, under the new stewardship of Poch, Lidson Poch, whether they can do anything and find themselves up the table in 2024. Let's wait and see.
Let's wait and see. Indeed. So in the meantime, we've got 4 more teams to cover.
Yep.
So we've covered now. We've really got through them. 16 teams. We'll have to look back on them
Yep.
at some point. But yeah, 16 teams have done. 4 more left. So we'll group those together. Sorry, because they're from sporadically around the country, I think. So there's 4 teams we'll cover next time, and then we're looking ahead to the start of the season, which is on the 14th of April. Did you say it kicks off?
I think it's the
Serie A?
13th. Yeah, 13th. I think.
13th,
Yeah, the 13th. Yeah.
So we'll kind of have an episode or 2 looking ahead to that over the next kind of 2 or 3 weeks. And then it's full steam ahead to the start of the season. So once the season starts, we'll be looking at the action and going through the talking points and various different bits and pieces. We'll try and keep it interesting, and not just be a run through of the scores and things. We'll try and maybe do something a bit different. But for the time being, that was Belo Horizonte. Do you remember what that translated as, George?
Now you're asking me a question. No.
Beautiful Horizon.
Oh yeah, I should have known that one really.
Well, now that you're a Gallo fan, I guess you'll have to be.
We're gonna
that kind
take
of thing.
trips to the beautiful horizon.
That's it. And as we sail off with that, we'll sail off ourselves into the beautiful horizon. It's been talking Brazil ball. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes, and we'll say adios.
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 Thanks for listening.
See you later.